Top story this morning, the Business Secretary, Kemi Badenoch, is going to India in an attempt to finalise a multi-billion-pound post-Brexit trade deal.
Speaking ahead of her visit, she said the proposed agreement with the world's fifth-largest economy proved that global Britain is thriving.
Now, this issue has previously caused divisions within the government. The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, raised concerns over what the deal is. Would it involve increased migration from India? She says that Indians represented the largest group of visa overstayers.
Well, we're joined in the studio by political analyst Leon Emirali, who can tell us more. Listen, let's sort of get into the details of how big a deal this is. Clearly, India, a very big economy, and we need deals like this. How significant is this?
It is significant, Isabel, and I think, as you say, it's that signal of global Britain that we are trading beyond Europe and the European Union. But it's still fairly insignificant in the grand scheme of things of the global economy. The key areas in which the UK are looking to get a victory are around cars and around whisky. So two important parts of the economy, but certainly not huge parts of our economy.
So the cars will be made by the Indians in Britain and then exported to India. Is that the way it goes?
Something along those lines, Eamon. I mean, obviously, we've got those existing trade links with India. Tata recently made that big investment, £4 billion in Somerset to build a battery factory for electric vehicles. So there are those existing ties between the UK and India. This trade deal, the government's hoping, will cement those ties and actually increase the level of trade between our two countries. And again, it's that signal that we are open for business and that India is an important...
Are we open to more migration? And it's interesting. I'm not against that. I mean, but would that have been part of the payoff of the deal like this? And you look at someone like the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, with the Indian heritage. Would that have strengthened the fact that this came about?
Yeah, well, let's take those two in turn. So certainly immigration is one of the key areas where there's a sticking point in Cabinet. We've heard Suella Braverman saying that, yes, she wants a trade deal with India, but not at the expense of more Indian migration to this country.
The only thing I'm going to say about that is most Indians, I would guess, are Conservative supporters.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the lose for the Conservative Party in that?
I think it's the numbers. So if you start looking at statistics around immigration and that number starts going up, then the government has a narrative they have to try and defend. Actually, the contribution of the Indian diaspora in this country is massive. I mean, the economic contribution, the societal contribution. So I think there is a fairly loose argument that Suella Braverman can make. But Rishi Sunak's Indian heritage himself, that's important. I mean, it might seem like a small thing, but when it comes to diplomacy, the fact that he's got those ties to India, India are very proud that one of their descendants is the British Prime Minister, and I think that plays a big part and would have no doubt helped this deal.
Obviously, it's not been fully agreed yet. This is Kemi Badenoch arriving in Jaipur for a sort of pre-G20 summit, and then the Prime Minister will head to India in September. But do we know the actual figures involved in all of this? Because we talked a huge amount about the CPP being a big win for Brexit decries, and then it ended up being 0.02% of the economy. And we know Brexit's costing 4% of GDP per year. So where do we stand in the balance to get the better picture?
We don't know the full numbers yet, Isabel. We don't know the full numbers because it's still some way off, actually, from being finalised, as you say, before Rishi Sunak signs on the dotted line. But those numbers are not going to be massive. They aren't going to replace the entirety of our trading relationship with the EU. And we have to be realistic that, we are now potentially less of an appealing trading partner, part of the European Union. We were a market of 500 million people. Now we're just 70 million people. And when we're trading with huge economies like India, the cards are in their hands. So it's not necessarily going to be a game changer. But again, it's that signal, and Britain can hopefully use this as a blueprint for other countries around the world.
I love the idea of closer relationships and understanding other countries. I've never been to India. You've been to India?
Yeah, I've been a couple of times. It's fabulous.
I haven't. I'd love to.
So you and me should go.
We should, Eamon. Let's
do it. Go, yeah.
Let's do it.
I like the idea of the culture. The food seems
the colours.
Fascinating.
Do you know, I went to Rajasthan, which is just famous for all its beautiful, brightly coloured saris, beautiful architecture, a lot of British links, of course, with the colonial ties. My grandfather was born in what used to be called Bombay, so lots of history there.
What's Bombay called?
what was good
Mumbai.
then? Mumbai, thank you.
Oh,
Tip of my tongue.
yeah.
Did you get a sore belly when you were there?
I did get ill one of my trips, unfortunately.
You did tell me that story, actually, I remember that. But let's
We
not
won't
go into detail with that.
Too many details.
But suffice it to say that, by and large, medical conditions in India are very good as well.
I didn't have to go to hospital or anything like that, but I'll take your word for it. And I also went there to talk about pollution. Went to Mumbai to talk about.
But you know,
plastic.
me sort of having to seemingly be permanently in hospital over the past year, a lot of Indian medical staff in hospitals, which we seem to rely very heavily on as well. Yeah. Look, it's going to develop throughout the day. Anything you'd just like to say overall about it? I mean, they blew up this whole idea. I don't like being lied to by politicians. This is either, you know, a good deal, a massive deal, a ginormous deal, or a completely insignificant deal.
Yeah.
And when they talked about the deal we did with Australia and New Zealand, you know, me spending money in the news agents would have covered that, you know. So it is true. It was nothing. It's 0.6% of the economy.
But the good news for India, they are on an upwards trajectory.
Yeah.
And I think if we get that link in early, and there aren't many countries that have got trading arrangements with India, believe it or not. They are in negotiations with the European Union, but the UK are sort of ahead of the queue, as it were. So to get there early, if they continue to grow economically, it can only be a good thing for us as well.
I did see, wait a minute, this is somewhere in one of the papers, I forget where it was. But anyway, the Indians have landed, or are trying to land,
was it the Telegraph? I think
was it a lunar...
I saw it as well. I know what you're talking about.
They're landing something on the moon. Anyway, a moon rover. So, but then this conflicts with a lot of people that they're either filthy rich and have money to burn, or they're incredibly poor and we have to give them lots of aid. But why do they want to go to the moon for? Why does everybody want to go to the moon?
Well, I mean, you're right, Eamon. It's a very unequal country, India. So on one case, you've got incredible poverty, you know, and it's very sad to see. And on the other hand, you've got what seems quite sort of flippant, people trying to go to space and go to the moon. But I think the space is an important issue militarily, and I think that's why India is now playing in that area, because let's face it, there are so many satellites, infrastructure up there, that if there is a big global conflict, having space capabilities is going to be an advantage. So I think that's why India are being involved in that. And it is a part of the world where there are still tensions with Pakistan, with other countries around them. So I think that's why they're investing. But, you know, as I say, the UK's sort of foreign aid that we give to India is often in the spotlight because, as you say, you know, putting people on the moon is not cheap. Why can't they spend that on their policy?
Well, I think today I'd like to hear from so many Indian people in the country. And
your wish is my command, Eamon. Javid Vlani.
Oh, brilliant.
Has just emailed in. I think Eamon would be fabulous in a Bollywood film.
In a what?
In a Bollywood film.
I thought you said a Bond
Song
film.
and dance with Indian top actors. Why not? He said the food and sweet snacks are top. And another plus is that the doctors won't strike.
OK. So listen, if you're part of the whole Indian diaspora, and that's the whole big family, and whether you were born in India, whether you're born here, you know, you're third generation, fourth generation, whatever, let us know what you think about strengthening the ties with your homeland and what you think about that. I mean, for instance, if I was Prime Minister, everything in this country would be green, basically. You know, you'd strengthen the ties with Ireland. You're bound to.
Oh, I see. Right, I thought you were going net zero on us there.
No. I mean green as
green,
shamrock
as in
green.
Four-leaf clover.
And shillelagh and all that sort of thing.
Leprechaun.
But I can see...
Sorry, Leon, your face. You're like, what is happening here?
I'm just imagining a country where Eamon is Prime Minister. I think
God help us.
But what I think is, people just say, oh, it's nothing to do with whether Sunak's of Indian descent or not. But it would have. It would have. I think he would be incredibly proud and keen to cement links with India, and that would be a great thing for him. It would
well, let's not forget his wife's family, hugely influential there as well.
So.
Significant billionaire, and has big links with the UK as well in his tech business. So I'm sure that has all helped.
Leon, keep your ear to the ground on this one. It'll develop as the morning goes on, and we'll talk again.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.